Oh, what up, YouTube? Knowledge is self-determination. Pardon the funky view, but I had to prop my phone up on something so that I could actually talk to y'all while I use my hands to work with this bud I'm working with. So anyway, I wanted to talk today about the wisdom and the foresight of the elders. Also about reading and studying history. And also not necessarily focusing on the past, but taking the advice of our elders, those who have passed, who are now our ancestors, and those who are amongst us. I actually listened to, I think over the past couple of days, yesterday and today, I actually listened to the audio book of The Miseducation of the Negro. I've owned that book before in the past. That was kind of redundant. I've owned that book before, and I don't recall ever reading the entire book, but that was one of the books that I had in my possession when I was in my teens. And I have to say, brilliant work by Carter G. Woodson, man. Brilliant book. I mean, shit. The ancestor was spitting straight science, man, straight knowledge. And here's the thing: the comparative works of a lot of our ancestors, they paint a really, really vivid picture. Like if you listen to Neely Fuller, read his books. Listen to Dr. Frances Cress Welsing. Read her written works, her papers, her books. Dr. John Henrik Clark. Listen to his lectures. Read his books. Dr. Ben Yakinen. Listen to his lectures. Read his works. Ivan Van Sertima, Renoko Rashidi, and so on and so on and so on. You start to get the common theme unraveling, right? But let's talk about, I want to focus on right now the parallels between Dr. Claude Anderson and Carter G. Woodson. Now, Dr. Claude Anderson, those of you who do not know, he is featured mostly on Dr. Boyce Watkins' channel, Your Black World, and on Dr. Boyce TV or whatever, right? And Dr. Claude Anderson is he's a brilliant elder, man, and he has been talking to, speaking with, and trying to teach black people about how our government really works and what we can do to be independent, to build up the black community, to create and generate wealth within the black community. I gotta get some fucking raps. Dumb son of a bit. Anyway, to generate wealth in the black community. It's brilliant shit, man. He has been doing this for 30, 40 some odd years. He's been doing this longer than I've been on the planet. And longer than a lot of you have been on the planet. But the parallels, and I'm sure Dr. Claude Anderson has read the Miseducation of the Negro. Now, oh man, and I cannot remember the sister's name, but she wrote the book, The New Jim Crow. I think she has a lecture on the New Jim Crow. And then Dr. Joy DeGruy also, and her work, her paper on post-traumatic slave syndrome. Brilliant shit. But basically, what I wanted to say is this. Or rather, what I wanted to touch on right now is this. One, if you have not read The Miseducation of the Negro, please read that book. Listen to the audio book. I try to stress to black people, younger brothers and sisters, read. Like the dude of Mortal Technique says, man, turn off the TV and read, nigga. Read. You know what I'm saying? Turn off the TV and fucking read. There's nothing on TV that is worth the attention that you give it. TV is crap. It sucks. Especially TV for black people. It's the worst shit out there. You know what I'm saying? It's the worst shit out there. But Carter G. Woodson, in his book, I am partial to, Jesus Christ, I am partial to the 9th and the 11th chapters in his book, because those chapters seem to really touch home to me. They seem as though he was peering into the future, you know. And what I have learned is that people who have advanced knowledge, people who are paying attention to the world around them, it's not that he's smart. It's not that he can peer into the future. It's that he pays attention to what has happened, what was happening during his time, and what will ultimately happen. The same way Dr. Francis Cress Welsing accurately predicted the transition from black men wearing their pants hanging off their asses to black men stepping out of the pants and putting on dresses and skirts and feminizing themselves. She called that shit to a fucking T. And there is an episode of the Boondocks that is dedicated to the work that she put into the ISIS papers explaining that particular transition. Carter G. Woodson, in The Miseducation of the Negro, paints a very vivid picture. And he talks about, you know, how the miseducation of the Negro has plunged us into this state of inferiority, into this state of backwardsness, you know, miseducating the Negro. For instance, for instance, black people who are to become leaders of black people are educated by white people in a white supremacist system and taught how to be a leader of black people per the teachings of white people. So in essence, what you get is a black man with a white man's brain who is putting himself up to be your leader. Now, the funny thing about all that is, in this system of white supremacy, the only leaders that you have are the ones that are in their pocket. If there are black leaders, when there were black leaders, white supremacy murdered them all. But now what they do is they make it hard for these people to even get a foothold. But those who are put into the public eye, who gain the trust of the Democratic and the Republican parties and all that kind of shit, those who would be arrogant enough to put themselves on a pedestal and call themselves a leader, you know, first and foremost are individuals who are allowed by white supremacy to do as such. But what they do is, some of them, see, they blend in bullshit with truth. Like Roland Martin, for instance. This is a brilliant brother, very educated brother, very, very intelligent brother, you know. And I'm not going to say that Roland Martin doesn't love black people. I'm not going to say that. But what I will say is, like Carter G. Woodson explains in The Miseducation of the Negro, these political parties use our people to solicit us to these particular parties. These parties don't do shit for us. The Democratic Party and the Republic, they are two sides of the same fucking coin ultimately. And they do nothing to benefit black people at all. Dr. Claude Anderson really goes into depth about things of this nature. And I'm listening to the audiobook of The Miseducation of the Negro, and I am astounded. What's the broad? What's her name? Candace Owens? The small-eyed black chick. She got some real tiny-ass eyes. Eyes are small as shit. Who, what was this? This wasn't a congressional hearing. She was, shit. She went in, I think she went in front of Congress, I believe. I could be mistaken on that, but her recent, the most recent affair with her, calling herself, speaking for, black people and all that shit, right? Anyway, she is an individual. She is the perfect example. In fact, while I was listening to the book, she is who I was thinking about. One of the individuals I was thinking about. She is someone who has been paid money to stand up in front of black people and white people and basically defend white supremacy, white politics, white nationalism. She's been paid to do this. and try to convince and coerce black people to follow her and supporting who she deems is worthy of black people's trust, votes, and support. But, and I'm gonna say this. I made a video a while back. This was when Umar Johnson was beefing with the kid, was it General Seti? They had that little online beef and shit going back and forth. I thought that was the most ignorant shit. Well, not ignorant, because ignorant just refers to knowledge and a lack thereof, not knowing. So this was some of the most ghetto hood rat shit that I mean, come on. I mean, someone who is a PhD, who proudly boasts about their credentials and higher education and all of that, and want to represent black people around the world, teaching black people and being a positive role model, one should carry themselves in a much better fashion than he did. But in that video, what I said was, there's something to be learned from all these brothers, There's something to be gained from all these brothers. But personally, I like listening to the elders, reading their books and listening to their lectures, because, I mean, let's face it, unless these new school cats are actually, unless they're talking about current events, they're just parroting the shit that the elders told us. At the end of the day, and if I'm gonna get lessons about my people, I'm gonna get it from the people who taught you. You dig? So anyway, basically, what Carter G. Woodson says in his book is this: black people don't need leaders. We need servants. We need people who are willing to serve the people. We don't need leaders, A person who puts them, and this is not a direct quote from Carter G. Woodson, but a person who puts himself up as a leader, for the most part, probably shouldn't be your leader if he's coming at you saying he is. A leader is a servant of the people. You understand what I'm saying? Not a self-serving individual, but a servant of the people. I'm not implicating anyone in saying that any of these names that I have mentioned, like Dr. Umar or whatever, puts himself up on that kind of pedestal, although he rubs certain people the wrong way, and that's fine. You're not going to agree with everybody. I believe that all of us need to be leaders, because here's the thing with black people. See, first and foremost, we need to stop ratting our people out, because when we appoint people heads of our community and leaders and all this other shit, what we do is we tell white supremacy, hey, this is the nigga that you come get. This, yeah. He's our leader. Blow his head off. No, we all need to be leaders in our own right. You understand? We all need to be leaders in our own right. Stop trying to appoint a leader. Stop looking for somebody to follow. The situation is dire for us, man. We are, I don't want to go so far as to say the end game. We are in the end game, but we kind of are in the end game. Dr. Claude Anderson pretty much says that the things that are happening to black people now are some of the exact things that preceded the fucking Jewish Holocaust in Germany. We are being fucking fleeced and led to the fucking slaughter. And our desire to compete with each other, to beef, to argue with each other, our idiocy in allowing other people to coerce us and turn us against each other. Like, for instance, like this is the type of person I am. Like, a white person couldn't come to me and talk shit to me about black people and try to get me to turn against black people. You couldn't, because I already recognize you as my enemy. And secondly, I don't do that he said, she said shit, first and foremost. You know what I'm saying? Because this person could be right in all the things that they're telling me about you. But if I didn't hear it from you myself, there is an air of speculation, skepticism that goes, no, I'm sorry, not speculation. There's an air of skepticism that arises. I don't take anything just on somebody telling me. You understand? Like for instance, I was working at this job. I was working in a group home and shit, right? And this chick, she where the fuck did she come from? Like North Carolina or something like that, Virginia, Richmond, someplace. And she had came to me and told me that two of the dudes that that we worked with were, you know, basically talking shit about me behind my back or whatever. You know, and I immediately like, hold up. First and foremost, I don't give a fuck. I don't do that he said, she said shit. I don't do that. I mean, anytime anybody comes at me with some shit like that, guess what? Such as that, they don't even fuck with you. I don't do that shit. Because first off, these dudes had never given me a reason to think that they were talking shit about me. They never given me any reason to think that they were even snaking me behind my back. They never given me that reason. You know what I'm saying? They could have been talking shit about me behind my back, but every time I saw them, you know, they dapped me up. We was cool, you know, as far as I knew. I never had any problems with either one of these dudes. But this broad, and she could have been telling the truth. But my thing is this, and I want you all to listen carefully to this. This is my thing, man. Listen, if you all do, and you talking shit about motherfuckers behind their back, you know, and you talk shit about me behind my back, and somebody else tells me, it's like this. If you too pussy to actually say that shit to me, then it doesn't even matter. It's like you didn't even say the shit. But if you did say it, then I know what type of person you are. You're a sucker. You know what I'm saying? And you're not even worth me dedicating any time to at that point. It's not even worth it. You understand? I'm not gonna riff with you over some he said, she said shit. And the whole point behind all of that is to say this. This is one of the major reasons why we can't seem to get it together, because we're too busy allowing other things to cloud what we should be doing. What we should be doing is coming together under one banner for a common goal, and that is the survival of our people. But what we end up doing is beefing with each other because somebody said your mama was ugly, or somebody stepped on your sneakers, or whatever the fuck ever, or somebody said you was a bitch or whatever. And we gotta learn how to look past that shit, man. Because what I was listening to while engaging in that audiobook for the entirety of the day, like when I'm working and shit, pop on my headset, put an audiobook in, and bam, I listen. It's one of the best ways to feel. It's one of the best ways to fucking multitask, man. Got knowledge pouring in my head while I'm doing shit to keep my bread up. You feel me? I don't see why more people don't do it. You know, in this day and age, there's no excuse not to be up on your Black history when you can listen to a fucking lecture or an audiobook any day, anytime, anywhere. You know, anything short of that is just an excuse, and there's no such thing as an excuse. You know what I'm saying? It's bullshit. But the situation is dire for us because I'm listening to The Miseducation of the Negro. I believe that book was written and was published in the 70s, I believe. 1970 or something like that. Man, that is over 40 years ago. That's almost 50 years ago, man. That's almost 40 years ago. I wasn't even born yet when this book was published, when it was written, when it was conceived of. I wasn't even a twinkle in anybody's eye. And I'm listening to this book today in 2019 and thinking, shit, Carter G. Woodson is talking to me about what the fuck was happening back then. You know what's fucking funny? He was talking about politics in the world that he existed in that time. The funny thing is that the system has not changed. The fact that 40 years ago, government was working in the same fashion that it was then as it is now is fucking astounding. And our people are not paying attention. Excuse me. Carter G. Woodson mentions that as well. A lot of black people's lack of interest in politics and things like that. That's changing now, definitely. That's changing now. But what I'm saying is, 40 years ago, what Dr. Claude Anderson was talking about is relevant in 2019. What fucking Carter G. Woodson's book was talking about all those years ago is relevant now. He was talking about then. And he might as well have been talking about the political arena right now. Right fucking now. We got black men out here wanting to be girls. I don't have a problem with anybody's sexual orientation or whatever, but if you're just doing it because it's a fad and it's popular and it's trending, you really need to reevaluate yourself. Stop playing games. Reevaluate yourself, man. Take the dick out your ass and be a man. Again, I don't have anything against anybody's sexual orientation. What I do have an issue with is people not being who they are. If you're a homosexual, fine, be homosexual. You know what I'm saying? Be homosexual. But be a man. You are a fucking man. Be a man. Be a man. Anyway, that's a little rant, little tangent. Anyway, listen, read, man. Read the book. Read this shit, man. Read The Miseducation of the Negro. Read it. Read Dr. Claude Anderson's books, Dirty Little Secrets, Black Labor, White Wealth, you know. Read these things, man. Powernomics. Read these things. Study these things. Listen to these lectures. Because our ancestors were trying to tell us decades ago, decades and decades ago, they were trying to tell us the information that they were giving us back then. Had we taken heed to it, even through the midst of all that tragedy, when all of our leaders were being murdered in the 60s and 70s, through all of that, if we had listened and been studying and paying attention, we could have avoided so much of the shit that we're going through now. We could have avoided it. We have scores and scores of young black men going to prison because they looked at a white girl, because a white girl touched their balls. Whatever. If a white bitch said a black man goes to prison, you know, that has nothing to do with Carter G. Wood's book. Well, maybe it does in a sense that we have been miseducated. We have been misled to believe that we live in a post-racial society, a post-racist society, because we had a black president. This dude was half black, and he wasn't even African-American. Always remember that, black people. President Obama had no problem not doing shit for black people because he doesn't feel adjacent to us in any way. His mother was white. His father's a native African. I don't remember what country his father comes from, but he's not an African American. He's not black. He's not one of us. His people weren't slaves. He's not the descendant of slaves like we are. So he don't give a fuck about our problems, man. He never did. As you can see from the lack of everything he did. I don't give a fuck about visuals. I don't give a fuck about optics. We got enough optics. We got enough role models. We got enough symbolism. Fuck symbols. We need motherfuckers out here doing shit. Symbolism. Fuck that. The reverse symbolism that white supremacy uses is part of the reason why we're fucked up in the game as it is. I don't need a symbol. We need motherfuckers standing up in the forefront doing. Nipsey Hussle had the right idea, and unfortunately, he fell victim to stupidity. Here's a man who was trying to do good and was murdered in the process of that. That should have never happened to Nipsey. Should have never happened. This dude should not have been allowed to even get that close, but he did. Nipsey thought he was home, or he was home, and he felt like he could be there unprotected because he felt like he's one of the people. Rest in peace, by the way. Read that book, man. Listen to the lecture. There's no excuse not to educate yourself. You can put that shit on in the background, man. You got a smart TV, pull up YouTube or something on. And yeah, my sinuses are crazy. My allergies are kicking me in the ass right now. Sorry about that. The stuffy, congested sound. I know I'm over 20 minutes on this video, man. But listen. Read, black people. Read. Because white people are rewriting history. White supremacy is rewriting history. And they are writing our asses out. Because truth be told, not only do these motherfuckers know that genetic annihilation is upon them. Because look at their low birth rates, man. The Caucasian birth rate all over the planet, and some Asians, like Japanese and all that shit. These motherfuckers are experiencing lower than their population growth has halted. And in a minute, it's going to go in reverse, where there's more of them dying than is actually being born on the planet. In fact, I think that's actually the case right now. They know this, and white supremacy is the outward expression of them knowing that this is what's happening. They don't have a problem trying to get rid of us off the planet. We are at war. They are at war with us, and we're at war with each other. They're at war with us, and our focus is somewhere else. I'm not saying not to like sports, but why can't you match the hours that you spend a week watching ball games that you spend reading and filling your head with knowledge and education? It's just a simple question. But read, man, please. The miseducation of the Negro. That is some deep shit. The ISIS papers. I'm not going to give you guys a whole list of shit to read. But listen. That book inspired me to do this video today because I'm listening in amazement. This brother, this ancestor was spot on with what he was talking about. He was spot on, man. Everything he was saying in that book applies to today. Applies to today. Our neighborhoods are being gentrified every day. I'm from Baltimore, man. I'm from a town in Baltimore called Cherry Hill. You know what I'm saying? And damn near every street in Cherry Hill was named after a black person. Spelman, Bethune, Bunch. You know what I'm saying? Carver. You get what I'm saying? Mostly all the streets. I lived on Carver Road. I lived on Booker T Drive. You get me? But it was called Booker Drive. You understand? I lived on Bunch Road. You feel me? Ralph Bunch, the man who created Black History Month, Black History Week, whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like, I lived in a community where all the streets were named after black people. I went to an elementary school where all my teachers were black women. There wasn't a white bitch in the school. And now look at us. The community that was made for black people is been flushed down the fucking It's one of the most violent places in the fucking city. It's a one way in, one way out town. And if you're not from there, you fucked. That's sad. A town with the history of our people on the streets. And we grew up not even knowing anything about most of these people. It's fucking crazy. It's crazy. But I'm done lecturing for right now, man. Read, people. Read. Start reading. Turn off the TV, man, and read. I'm not telling you to... Because look, I'm a combat sport fan. I love boxing. I love fucking MMA. I don't indulge in that shit anymore because there's too much time. There's too much work to be done. But read, please read, because our ancestors have been warning us for decades. It's time for us to start paying attention to what the fuck they've been saying.